The story of the missing ship Aurora was told on every world where humans lived. It was the first ship that dared to travel far beyond known space, carrying explorers, scientists, and dreamers. People called it a bold step for Earth's future. But one day, more than 100 years ago, the Aurora sent its last message. After that, silence. No distress signal. No wreckage. Nothing. At first, search fleets were sent. Families of the crew begged for answers. Months turned into years, and still, no trace of the ship was found. The galaxy was wide, and many dangers existed beyond the maps. Slowly, the name Aurora changed from a memory of hope to a tale of loss. Children grew up hearing about it as a legend. To them, the crew were heroes who never came home. But the galaxy did not wait for Earth's grief. While the Aurora was gone, humanity spread to new colonies, building cities on strange worlds. At the same time, they found they were not alone. Alien empires surrounded them. Some traded peacefully, but many were hostile. Humans were often caught between powerful rivals, struggling to protect their place in the stars. They remembered the Aurora as a dream of what might have been, if it had not been lost. Then came the day when that dream returned. A signal was picked up at the edge of human space. At first, it seemed weak, almost broken, but the identification codes were clear. It was the Aurora. Commanders on Earth thought it impossible, yet the code matched perfectly with the ship that had vanished more than a century ago. Scouts were sent, and what they found shocked them. The Aurora was there, whole and shining as if it had never aged. Its hull was smooth, covered in strange lights that no engineer could understand. It was not damaged. It was not rusted. It looked as if it had just launched from Earth yesterday. Even stranger, the crew was alive. Captain Myra, who had led the mission long ago, stepped onto the bridge as if only a single day had passed. She and her officers showed no sign of being older. To them, the journey had lasted only a year. They had no idea that 100 years had gone by outside. The news spread quickly. On every human world, people stopped to watch the broadcasts. The missing ship had returned, and the crew was alive. For the first time in years, humanity felt united in surprise and wonder. But it was not only humans who noticed. Alien empires soon turned their eyes toward the Aurora. They had studied humanity for decades, weighing their strength. Now, they were faced with something none of them could explain. A ship vanishing for a century and returning unchanged was beyond their science. Whispers spread across the stars. Some feared this was a new weapon. Others thought it was a secret alliance with unknown powers. On Earth, leaders welcomed Captain Myra and her crew, but their questions were sharp. Where had the ship been? What had kept them alive? What was the source of the strange energy glowing on their hull? Myra tried to explain, but her words only raised more questions. She spoke of a place she called the Silent Expanse, a realm without stars, where time did not flow in the same way. She said the Aurora had been pulled inside by forces unknown, and when they returned, the galaxy had changed. Some scientists believed her. Others thought she was hiding the truth. But one thing was certain: the ship carried technology that no one could understand. Engines that bent space in ways that broke every known law. Weapons that hummed with silent power. Shields that made the Aurora untouchable. The galaxy trembled at the thought. For the crew, it was stranger still. Their families were gone, their homes changed, their language even felt different on their tongues. Myra stood in the command chamber of Earth's High Council, staring at the faces of people who were the grandchildren of those she once knew. To her, it felt like she had stepped forward through time, leaving everything behind. Yet she carried something no one else had: the knowledge of the Silent Expanse. She warned that the place was not empty. It had secrets, and those secrets had chosen the Aurora for a reason. But whether that reason was good or dangerous, she could not say. The return of the Aurora was not just the return of a lost ship. It was the beginning of a storm. Humanity was no longer a small voice among the stars. With the Aurora back, they now held something the galaxy did not understand, and perhaps could never control. The vanished ship had returned. And with it came the mystery that would change everything. The return of the Aurora left humanity in shock, but the greater shock came when people met the crew. Captain Myra stepped off the ramp, looking no older than when she had left Earth 100 years earlier. Her officers followed strong, alert, and unchanged. For the people watching, it was like seeing ghosts step out of legend. Reporters crowded the landing bay, shouting questions, but Myra and her team were taken quickly to Earth's Central Command. The leaders wanted answers before the galaxy could guess too much. Inside the Great Council chamber, Myra stood with calm eyes. Around her sat men and women who ruled the colonies, but they were not the same leaders she remembered. They were descendants of those she once knew. The flag was the same, the buildings looked familiar, but the people were strangers. To Myra, it felt like she had walked into a future she had not chosen. The council asked their first question. "Captain Myra, can you explain where the Aurora has been?" Myra took a breath. "To us, it has only been 1 year since departure. We traveled beyond map space and were drawn into a place we later called the Silent Expanse. There were no stars there, no planets, only strange currents of light and machines without masters. Time flowed differently. When we returned, we found a century had passed." The council chamber was silent. Many did not believe her, yet no one could explain the evidence before them. Medical scans showed the crew's bodies were only a year older. Their memories were sharp, with no sign of falsehood. Some council members leaned forward. "And this technology on your ship? Where did it come from?" Myra shook her head. "We built some of it using what we found. Other parts were given or left for us to take. The Silent Expanse is not empty. Something guided us, though we never saw its face." That answer stirred fear. If something powerful had chosen humans, then perhaps it had plans the galaxy could not stop. Meanwhile, outside the chamber, the people of Earth celebrated. The Aurora had returned, and hope burned bright again. Songs were written, statues were planned, and children dreamed of exploring as the Aurora once had. But while Earth rejoiced, alien spies listened closely. Across the stars, empires met in secret halls. The Valen, tall creatures with glassy skin, feared what they called the human weapon. The Brath, a warrior species, saw it as a challenge to their honor. Even the quiet Zor, who rarely left their worlds, whispered about this ship that had broken the laws of time. They wanted it. On Earth, Myra met with her crew in private. In the soft light of the command quarters, they spoke of what they had seen in the Silent Expanse. "It felt alive," said Rin, the ship's engineer. "The machines reacted to us, as if they understood our needs. They tested us," added Lyra, the pilot. "I felt like every choice we made was being judged. And when we passed, they rewarded us." "But why us?" asked Jalen, the youngest officer. "Why not some other race?" Myra's gaze was steady. "Perhaps humanity carries something they value. Or perhaps we were simply the ones who dared to go far enough." The crew fell into silence. They were proud of their ship, but uneasy. They knew that what they carried was both a gift and a burden. In the days that followed, Earth's leaders pressed harder. They wanted to study the Aurora, to break apart its systems, to learn its secrets. But every attempt failed. The hull rejected scanners. Tools shattered against its armor. Energy fields shifted whenever anyone tried to touch the core. It was as if the ship allowed only its crew to command it. This made Earth's leaders both grateful and frustrated. They needed Myra, yet they could not control her. And Myra made it clear she would not hand the Aurora over to be used as a tool of war. But war was already coming. Messages arrived from alien empires. Some were polite, requesting to meet the captain. Others were threats, demanding the ship be surrendered. Fleets were seen moving closer to human borders. The galaxy was not patient. Still, Myra held her ground. She agreed to one public demonstration, so that humanity and the galaxy could see what the Aurora was capable of. Her crew prepared the ship, its engines glowing with strange white fire. As the ship lifted into the sky, millions watched from the surface below. The demonstration was brief but unforgettable. The Aurora folded space in an instant, vanishing from orbit and reappearing beyond the far moon. Then, with a hum, its weapons released a pulse that disabled drones and warships without destroying them. Machines fell silent, drifting harmlessly. No fire, no death, only silence. The crowd gasped. Scientists were speechless. Alien observers, watching through hidden channels, grew fearful. The crew returned to Earth with quiet faces. They had shown only a fraction of the ship's power, yet it was enough to shake the galaxy. Humanity, once seen as fragile and small, was now standing with something no empire understood. But Myra knew the truth. The silent expanse had given them this power, but it had also left questions unanswered. If the Aurora had been chosen, then by whom? And for what purpose? As she stood at the bridge window, watching the stars, Myra whispered to herself, "The galaxy thinks they should fear us. But they should be asking what lies beyond." The galaxy did not wait long to test the Aurora. Only a week after the public demonstration, a fleet from the Brath Empire crossed into human space. The Brath were known for their warlike nature, tall beings with armored bodies and eyes that burned like fire. To them, strength was honor, and weakness was shame. They had long believed humans were fragile settlers who survived only by luck. But the return of the Aurora changed their view. They feared that if humanity kept the ship, it would upset the balance of power. The Brath commander, Lord Cran, sent a direct message to Earth. His face appeared on the screens of the High Council, sharp teeth glinting, voice like thunder. "Humans," he said, "you are not worthy of the weapon you now hold. Surrender the Aurora to us, and we will allow your colonies to live in peace. Refuse, and we will bring fire to your worlds." The council argued. Some leaders wanted to surrender, fearing the Brath's fleets. Others insisted humanity must stand firm. In the end, all eyes turned to Captain Myra. She stood tall, her expression calm but unyielding. "The Aurora will not be surrendered," she said. "If the Brath wish to test us, then we will answer." Her crew stood with her, without hesitation. Soon after, the Brath fleet arrived near the colony of Darren's Reach. Dozens of warships, armed with plasma cannons and missile bays, filled the dark sky above the planet. The people below panicked, rushing to shelters, fearing destruction. The Aurora rose from orbit, its hull glowing with strange white patterns that shifted like flowing water. It looked small compared to the Brath Armada, but its presence was steady, almost serene. On the Brath flagship, Lord Cran laughed when he saw the lone ship standing against him. "One vessel against many? This will be short." He gave the order to fire. Bright lances of plasma streaked toward the Aurora. The people on Darren's Reach watched with held breath, expecting their protector to be torn apart. But the beams never struck. A veil of light shimmered around the Aurora, bending the energy aside as if the attacks were no more than wind against stone. The ship did not move, did not flinch. Then Myra gave her first command. "Engage the displacement array." The Aurora pulsed with light, and space itself rippled. To the Brath's shock, their warships twisted out of position, engines faltering. Entire formations drifted apart as if invisible hands had pushed them away. Their weapons fell silent, confused by broken targeting systems. Still, the Brath pressed on. "Close the gap," Cran ordered. "Ram them if you must." The warships charged, but Myra remained calm. "Activate the resonance beam," she told her crew. From the Aurora's front, a single beam of soft white energy extended, touching the lead Brath cruiser. There was no explosion, no fire. Instead, the cruiser shuddered, its systems going dark one by one. Lights faded, engines failed, and the ship drifted powerless through space. One after another, Brath vessels fell silent as the resonance beam passed over them. None were destroyed, yet none could fight. It was a weapon unlike any the galaxy had seen, one that ended battles without blood. On the surface, the colonists cheered. On alien worlds across the stars, fear spread. Lord Cran's fury shook his flagship. This is sorcery," he roared. His final command was desperate: "Destroy them with everything we have." The flagship unleashed its full arsenal, missiles streaking through the void. Myra waited until the last moment. "Fold the ship," she said softly. The Aurora vanished. The missiles struck only empty space. Seconds later, the ship reappeared behind the Brath flagship, untouched. Its presence was like a shadow no one could escape. The battle was over. The Brath ships floated powerless, their weapons useless. Myra opened a channel to Cran. Her voice was steady, but firm. "Your fleet is finished. We do not seek conquest, but we will not bow. Leave human space, or remain adrift forever." Cran's pride burned, but even he could not deny what he had seen. His fleet was beaten without a single loss on the human side. Reluctantly, he gave the order to retreat. When the Brath ships limped away, the stars grew quiet again. The Aurora returned to orbit, greeted by cheers from the colony below. For the first time, humanity felt what true strength meant. But Myra was not smiling. On the bridge, she stared at the glowing controls, her heart heavy. "We showed them too much," she whispered to Rin, the engineer. Rin nodded. "The galaxy will not forget this. They will fear us more than ever." And he was right. Across the stars, empires watched the recording of the battle. Some saw humans as a rising power to respect. Others saw them as a danger to eliminate before it was too late. The Aurora had proven its strength. But in doing so, it had painted a target on humanity's back. The victory at Darren's Reach spread through human colonies like wildfire. People sang songs of the Aurora, children painted its glowing form on walls, and merchants sold small models of the legendary ship. Humanity, once spoken of as a weak newcomer in the galaxy, now stood tall with pride. But while humans celebrated, alien empires whispered in fear. The Brath had been humiliated, their mighty fleet broken without a single human loss. The Valen, masters of technology, admitted in secret councils that they had no idea how the Aurora's weapons worked. Even the Silent Zor, who rarely interfered with galactic affairs, sent watchers to study the humans more closely. Rumors grew. Some said humans had allied with unknown gods. Others claimed the Aurora was not human at all, but a machine built by an ancient race. Traders told tales in cantinas, spinning the story into legend. And with every telling, the galaxy's unease deepened. On Earth, Myra sat before the council once again. The leaders asked her to explain more of what she had seen in the silent expanse. She did not hide the truth. "The expanse is not a place of stars," she began. "It is endless dark, yet filled with rivers of light that flow like living currents. There are no worlds, no suns, only silence. And in that silence, we found machines older than anything we know." The council leaned forward, listening closely. "They were vast structures," Myra continued, "larger than planets, yet without builders. They floated in the currents, moving as if alive. We touched them, studied them, and sometimes they changed in response. It was as if they were waiting for us." A scientist on the council frowned. "Do you believe they were weapons?" Myra shook her head. "No. They felt more like guardians. They did not attack us. Instead, they tested us. When we solved their patterns, they opened and revealed their secrets. The technology you see on the Aurora came from those encounters. Some we understood. Much we did not. Yet the ship itself seemed to grow with us, as if it learned alongside its crew. Her words stirred both wonder and fear. If the Aurora had grown stronger simply by existing in the expanse, then how powerful could it still become? After the council session, Myra walked through the streets of the capital. People cheered when they saw her, reaching out to touch her hand. They saw her as a hero, yet she felt only the heavy weight of responsibility. Later, in the quiet of the Aurora's bridge, Myra spoke with her crew. They think of us as saviors, she said, looking out at the stars. But I fear we may also be a curse. The more we use the ship, the more attention we draw. The galaxy will not stop watching us. Lyra, the pilot, gave a small smile. They already watch us. At least now, they think twice before striking. Rin, the engineer, was less certain. I studied the core systems today. They are changing again. The energy patterns shift each time we use the resonance beam. It feels like the ship is learning. But from who? From us or from the expanse itself? The crew fell silent. None of them had answers. Meanwhile, alien ambassadors arrived on Earth, demanding to see the Aurora. Some offered alliances, others threatened war. The humans allowed only one meeting, held under strict guard. Representatives from 3 empires stood before Myra, their voices sharp with suspicion. You claim your ship is human, hissed the Valen envoy, his skin shining like crystal. Yet no human science explains its power. Where did you truly gain it? Myra did not waver. We gained it because we dared to travel where no one else would. The silent expanse is open to all who are brave enough. If you seek answers, go there yourselves. The alien envoys exchanged uneasy looks. They had all heard rumors of the expanse, a cursed void where ships vanished and never returned. None had dared to risk it. That humans had entered and come back alive was itself unthinkable. After the meeting, the aliens left without peace. Their whispers spread across the stars. Humans were no longer a small race, but a dangerous mystery. Back on the ship, Jalen, the youngest officer, asked Myra a question that had been on his mind since their return. Captain, why do you think the expanse gave its secrets to us? What if it had chosen another race instead? Myra looked at him with steady eyes. Maybe it is not about being chosen. Maybe we were simply the first to ask the right questions. Sometimes, the universe rewards those who dare. Her words gave comfort to her crew, but not to the galaxy beyond. The Aurora's return had shaken the balance of power. Empires prepared in secret, building fleets and forging alliances. Humanity's place was no longer at the edge of galactic politics, it was at the very center. And though Myra wished for peace, she knew what was coming. Whispers of the silent expanse were turning into shouts. Sooner or later, the galaxy would test humanity again. And this time, it would not be only the breath. The storm was gathering. The Aurora's return had already shaken the stars, but after Myra's refusal to bow to alien demands, the whispers of fear turned into open plans of war. The galaxy's great powers, once too divided to act together, now found a single reason to unite: stop humanity before the balance tipped forever. On a cold evening in Earth's High Council Hall, messages from spies arrived. Rin read them aloud to the crew. The Brath are gathering ships again. The Valen are building new weapons. Even the Zor, who never move beyond their hidden worlds, are sending scouts into our borders. And worse, some of our own colonies are frightened. They think the Aurora will bring disaster on them. Myra listened quietly. Her face gave nothing away, but inside she felt the weight pressing harder. Humanity had grown proud of the Aurora, but pride alone would not protect them from a galaxy united in fear. In the following days, news spread of a coalition forming. Alien leaders who had fought each other for centuries now shared one common goal. They called it the Containment Accord. Their message was clear: humanity must surrender the Aurora or face war on every front. The Council of Earth met in urgency. Voices clashed across the chamber. "They will destroy us if we do not yield," one leader said. "If we give up the ship, we return to being weak," argued another. "This is not just about survival. It is about who we are," shouted a third. Through it all, Myra stood in silence until the room quieted. She spoke in a steady tone. "If we surrender the Aurora, we surrender the future. We may survive today, but tomorrow we will be prey once more. The ship was given to us for a reason. I will not hand it over. But I also will not let humanity become the tyrant of the stars. We must defend ourselves with honor." Her words cut through the noise. The council agreed reluctantly, fearfully, but with no better choice. The Aurora would stand. The decision was barely made when reports came of fleets moving closer. Dozens of ships from different empires had gathered near the human colony of Cora Prime. Their demand was simple: surrender or face annihilation. The colonists panicked. Families prepared to flee, while soldiers dug in with weapons they knew could never match alien firepower. All eyes turned to the Aurora. Myra and her crew lifted off, engines glowing with the silent fire of the expanse. As the ship cut across the stars, the crew gathered on the bridge. "We are one ship against hundreds," Jalen whispered. His hands shook slightly on the controls. "One ship can be enough," Myra replied. Her voice carried no doubt, though her heart felt the danger as much as they did. When the Aurora reached Cora Prime, the sight was grim. Alien vessels filled the sky like a storm of steel, their weapons aimed at the helpless colony below. The combined force of Brath, Valen, and Zor was something no human fleet could have faced. A message came through, cold and sharp. "Humanity has broken the balance. The Aurora must be destroyed. You cannot resist us." Myra answered with calm defiance. "We will not bow. If you wish to test us, then do so, but know this. We fight only to protect. We will not strike first, but we will end what you begin." The standoff stretched long. On Cora Prime, children and elders huddled in shelters, waiting for either death or deliverance. On the alien ships, commanders prepared their weapons. And on the Aurora, the crew's hands hovered over controls that glowed with power no one else understood. At last, the first shot came not from Myra, but from the alien side. A Brath cruiser fired, its plasma cannon blazing toward the Aurora. The battle had begun. The Aurora answered. Its shields flared, bending the attack aside. Then space rippled as Myra ordered the displacement array. Entire lines of enemy ships were pushed apart, breaking their formation. Still, the aliens pressed forward. The Valen unleashed swarms of drones, sleek and fast, circling the Aurora like wasps. Myra gave a sharp command. "Resonance beam." A pulse of light swept outward. The drones froze, their engines silenced, drifting lifeless in the void. The galaxy's greatest powers had expected an easy victory. Instead, they found their weapons useless, their numbers meaningless. The Aurora fought not with fire and destruction, but with silence and precision, disabling ships instead of killing crews. It was power tempered with restraint, and that restraint left the aliens shaken. On the bridge, Rin muttered, "We cannot hold forever. There are too many." Myra nodded. She knew the truth. They could win a battle, but not a war against all the stars. What mattered now was the message they sent. As the fighting paused, Myra opened a channel to every ship in the coalition. Her image appeared on their screens, calm and unbroken. "You came to crush us, but you have seen the truth. We do not seek conquest. We do not seek to rule. The Aurora will never be a weapon of empire. It will be a shield. Humanity will stand in peace, but we will not kneel. Her words echoed across the fleets. Some alien commanders lowered their weapons, unwilling to fight further. Others hesitated, torn between pride and fear. The battle was not won by force alone, but by the resolve Myra showed. At last, the coalition began to withdraw. One by one, the ships turned away, leaving Cora Prime safe. On the Aurora's bridge, the crew let out weary breaths. The storm had passed, but not ended. Humanity had survived another test, but the galaxy would not forget. The more the Aurora defended, the more it became a symbol of hope to humans, and of fear to others. Myra stood at the window, staring into the dark beyond. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "The galaxy will return, and next time, they may not come only with fleets. They may come with something far worse." Her crew looked at her, trusting her calm even as unease grew in their hearts. For they all knew one thing: humanity had stepped into the center of the galaxy's storm, and there was no turning back. The coalition's retreat from Cora Prime gave humanity a short breath of relief, but it was not peace. Across the stars, alien councils met in secret. They could not allow one ship to bend the will of entire empires. Pride and fear joined hands, and soon a message was carried to every fleet: the humans must be broken, and the Aurora must be destroyed. Scouts reported unusual movements near the borders of human space. Fleets from 3 different empires gathered, larger than anything seen before. The Valen supplied their finest machines, the Brath brought entire legions of warships, and even the Silent Zor revealed their hidden dreadnoughts, black ships that glided without sound. It was no longer a show of power. It was a true war. On Earth, the council trembled. "We cannot stand against this," one leader whispered. "Even the Aurora cannot face so many." But Myra stood calm. "If they come to crush us, we must show them a truth they cannot ignore. We must protect not only Earth, but every colony that looks to us for safety." Her crew agreed, though fear shadowed their eyes. Jalen, the youngest, admitted what they all felt. "We will face a storm like none before." "Captain, what if the ship is not enough?" Myra's gaze was steady. "Then we will still stand. Because if we fall without fighting, humanity falls with us." When the invasion came, it was like the night itself had moved. Hundreds of ships appeared near the colony world of Solon Prime. The sky above the planet glowed with engines, weapons, and shields. The colonists stared upward in terror, believing the end had come. The Aurora was waiting. Alone. On the alien flagships, commanders laughed at the sight. One ship to face an armada, Lord Cran of the Brath sneered. This will be their final stand. The order was given, and the sky turned into fire. Plasma beams, missiles, and cutting rays from every direction rushed toward the Aurora. To the colonists below, it was like watching the stars fall. But the ship did not break. A dome of radiant light surrounded it, bending every strike aside. The Aurora glowed brighter, humming with the deep pulse of the silent expanse. Then Myra gave her first command. "Expand the shield." The light dome stretched outward, wrapping around Solon Prime itself. For the first time in history, an entire planet was shielded by a single ship. The people below gasped, watching the heavens sparkle with protective light. The alien commanders were stunned. Never had such a defense been seen. Yet they pressed on, pouring their fire into the shield. "Activate the resonance web," Myra ordered. White lines of energy lanced out from the Aurora, weaving between enemy ships. Where the lines touched, engines faltered, weapons failed, and warships froze in silence. Within moments, dozens of vessels were drifting powerless. Still, the armada pressed closer. The Zor dreadnoughts, black and silent, opened with weapons of pure gravity, pulling at the shield with crushing force. The colony below trembled, buildings cracking under the unseen weight. Myra gripped the rail. Counter with fold arrays. Push them back. The aurora shone, space itself bending outward. The dreadnoughts were hurled away, tumbling like toys before stabilizing again. Even Myra's crew stared in awe. The ship was growing stronger with each command, as if the expanse itself flowed through it. But Myra did not seek to destroy. Again and again she chose restraint, disabling ships rather than tearing them apart. To her, victory meant survival, not conquest. The battle raged for hours. The aurora danced among the fleets, folding through space, appearing and vanishing in flashes of light. Every time the aliens thought they had cornered it, they struck only empty void. And every time the aurora reappeared, more of their ships fell silent. At last, the battlefield grew quiet. Hundreds of alien vessels floated powerless, their crews alive but defeated. The armada that had promised to crush humanity now drifted like a broken storm. On the bridge, the crew sat in silence, breathing heavily. They had won, yet even they could hardly believe it. Jalen whispered, "Captain, we shielded an entire world. We fought hundreds of ships. The aurora did this. But how? How far can it go?" Myra's eyes lingered on the glowing core at the center of the ship. She remembered the silent machines of the expanse, the way they had watched and tested her crew. "The ship is not finished," she said softly. "It is still learning, still growing. And I fear it has only shown us a glimpse of its true power." On alien worlds, the news spread like fire. The greatest fleet the galaxy had ever gathered had been stopped by one human ship. Some races whispered that humanity had become the chosen of ancient powers. Others warned that if the aurora was not destroyed soon, it would rise beyond any hope of control. But to the colonists of Solon Prime, there was no fear. They looked to the sky with tears and cheers, knowing they had been saved. Children pointed to the glowing shield and said they would remember the day the aurora guarded their world. When the ship returned to orbit, Myra stood at the bridge window, silent. Her crew waited, unsure if she would speak. Finally, she said, "We did what was needed. But the galaxy will not forgive this. We showed them more than ever before. The storm is not ending, it is only growing." The others nodded, knowing she was right. The aurora had proven unstoppable, but the cost was clear. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. And in the quiet of her heart, Myra wondered something she could not admit aloud. Had they truly commanded the aurora today, or had the silent expanse guided it through them? The victory at Solon Prime echoed through every star system. News traveled faster than light, carried by frightened whispers and proud voices alike. One human ship had stood against hundreds and had not fallen. Entire fleets now drifted powerless in orbit, waiting to be claimed or returned. For humanity, it was a moment of pride. Colonists celebrated, leaders raised speeches, and even the most doubtful now believed their species had stepped into a new age. Yet inside the aurora, there was no celebration. Myra and her crew knew the truth: the battle was not the end. It was the beginning of something far greater, and perhaps more dangerous. Council envoys filled Earth's skies, rushing to speak with Myra. Some begged for alliances, offering trade, protection, or hidden knowledge. Others came with threats, warning that if the aurora was not controlled, the galaxy would unite again, even more fiercely. At one such meeting, a tall envoy from the Brath Empire leaned close to Myra. "Captain, you must understand. Your ship breaks the balance of all. If you use it, we must destroy you. If you keep it hidden, we may yet live in peace." Myra's answer was calm. "We did not seek this. We only defended our people. But if you attack again, we will not hesitate." The envoy left in silence, but his eyes carried both fear and respect. On the bridge of the aurora, the crew gathered. Jalen spoke first. "Captain, the council wants us to stay near Earth, to show our power. But if we do that, they will keep testing us. They will never stop. Taran, the engineer, added, the ship is still changing. Every day it grows stronger, but I don't know where it will end. I think the Expanse gave it to us for a reason, but not to fight endless wars. The crew fell quiet, all turning to Myra. They trusted her, but they also feared the weight of the decision she carried. That night, Myra walked alone through the ship's silent halls. The glowing core pulsed softly, like a living heart. She placed her hand on the crystal wall and whispered, "What are you, really? Why us?" For a moment, the hum shifted. Images filled her mind, not words, but feelings. She saw the vast silent expanse, endless machines watching patiently. She saw other ships, long ago, given to other races. She saw those races fall because they used the power only for war. And finally, she felt a question pressing against her mind: what will humanity choose? The next day, Myra gathered her crew. We stand at a crossroad. The Aurora can make us rulers of the galaxy. No fleet can stop us now. But if we take that path, we become the very thing we fear. Or, we can take another way. Jalen leaned forward. What other way? Myra's voice was steady. We return to the silent expanse. We learn its truth. We show the galaxy that power is not only for conquest, but for wisdom. If humanity is to rise, it must be more than strong, it must be worthy. Her words struck them deeply. Some hesitated, fearing what waited in the expanse, but none argued. At last, Taran smiled faintly. Then let us be the crew that chooses differently. When the Aurora announced its course, the galaxy shook again. Many leaders were relieved, others suspicious, but none dared stop them. Alien fleets parted in silence as the lone ship turned back toward the mysterious stars from which it had first returned. As the Aurora entered the dark border of the silent expanse, Myra stood at the window. Behind her, Earth and its colonies were safe, at least for now. Before her stretched the unknown, vast and waiting. Jalen whispered, "Do you think they will accept us?" Myra's answer carried the weight of hope. "If we seek with honesty, yes. Humanity has stumbled, but we can learn. And if the Expanse gave us the ship, then perhaps it believes we are ready to try." The ship slipped deeper into the silent region, stars fading into a strange calm. Lights on the hull shimmered, reacting to the presence of ancient watchers unseen. The crew felt both fear and awe, knowing they were stepping where few dared. For the first time since the Aurora had returned, the galaxy grew quiet. No fleets chased them, no weapons fired. Even rival empires paused their endless quarrels, waiting to see what the humans would bring back from the darkness. And so, the Aurora vanished into the expanse once more, carrying with it not just weapons of impossible power, but the fragile hope of an entire species. Some believed humanity had claimed a throne above the stars. Others believed they had only borrowed fire too bright to hold. But for Myra and her crew, the truth was simpler. They were seekers, not conquerors. And if the galaxy wished to understand humanity, it would have to wait and see the answer that would return. For in the silent void, humanity's greatest ship was not just a weapon. It was a question. And the answer was still to come.